So, Baffuor, I like us to begin on a quick note before I give you the opportunity to speak. The NPP is in court.
We are going to court.
On Monday, or you have already filed on Thursday?
My update is that we are going to court. What step we have taken since yet to come to my attention. But as you know, going to court involves drafting processes, and being informed in terms
We're told that lawyers have been instructed to do what they have to do.
Exactly.
Right. So 7 months on, if you go to court again, you're likely to drag this. Don't you want a quick process that brings this matter to an end? Because if it's a rerun of only a few polling stations, even if it were a rerun of the entire constituency, as some people will say, that gives you the best opportunity to show to the people that you actually won.
It also gives, if the NDC, thank you very much, Samson, I am always worried when state institutions are caught up in this situation, particularly those that our democracy very much relies upon, the sustainability of our democracy very much relies upon, are caught up in this situation. I really get worried because I want to see the growth of these institutions, especially against the backdrop of the exhibited intention of the NDC, which found expression recently in an interview on this, in your station, on another program, by the chairman of the NDC, that the EC, the top 3 arrowheads at the EC must go. And so when they are caught up in this situation, I really get worried. And it appears to me that the EC has shot themselves in the foot. And, as it is, bound themselves, handed themselves over to the NDC as things stand now. Now, you may want to appreciate this by going into the chronology of events. If we cast our minds back, there's a court order for the EC to complete coalition. Sometimes there's a confusion where people think that the EC was ordered to do recoalition. No, it was to complete coalition. Now, following that order, or prior to that order being made, the position captured by the EC in its sworn affidavit before the court in answer to the application before the court, which was an application for mandamus, was that all they need is security to do coalition. All they need is security. I remember I was in court. The EC's lawyer, Mr. Justin Amenuvo, said, we are done with the elections. By law, we are supposed to complete coalition. And all we need is security to complete coalition. He's a man of few words when it comes to his courtroom advocacy. And so you could capture his advocacy in 3 sentences. We are done with the elections. All we need is security to enable us complete coalition. And so they've been consistent. Then 17th of January, the EC again issued a press statement. And I'll, very respectfully, with your leave, I will take you through it. And it's titled Press Release, Update on the Collation of Polling Station Results for Ablekuma North Constituency, dated 17 January 2025. The Electoral Commission wishes to bring to the attention of the general public that following the order of the High Court, 4th January 2025, directing the Commission to continue the collation of polling station results and declare winners of the 4 outstanding parliamentary elections, The only constituency still outstanding is Ablekuma North. It is instructive to state that the order of the High Court mandated the Ghana Police to provide the Electoral Commission security to conduct the collation of the polling station results for the outstanding constituencies. Something, this is where I find very important and for our discourse. Since the collation of the polling station results for Ablekuma North took place following the court order on the 8th of January 2025 at the old head office of the commission. However, the exercise was not completed because 3 out of the 281 polling station results were outstanding. This is the press release the EC put out there. Consistently, the EC never raised any issue about 19 polling stations. In fact, a letter written by the NPP to the Electoral Commission dated 3rd of June 2025, requesting compliance with the court order by completing the coalition. The EC, in its response dated 11th of June 2025, affirmed its commitment to the court's order to complete coalition, proceeded to state, again in that letter, that out of the 281 polling stations, there were only 3 polling stations outstanding. Prior to this letter, as you repeated on the show this morning, one of the deputy commissioners, Mr. Bosman Asare, had also come to Parliament.
Repeated that 3 was
on oath. On oath.
Okay.
So how did 3 transmogrified into 19? How?
Even at that point, they still were unable to proceed because, as he said, they needed security. And it appears they wanted to get more consensus and they didn't get. Is this...
If you want to do negotiated settlement, it is different from coming up with contrary facts. They are two distinct. They are distinct. If it is the case that as a result of the stalemate, which in my humble view highlights the weaknesses within our system, right? And students of political science and constitutional law may take it up. How, notwithstanding the powers of the police in our laws, the extent of executive powers may actually constrain it. Those are academic things that we may want to examine in the classroom with the greatest of respect. But what it is really is that the EC has played in the hands of the NDC. As to what they want to do to them, only God knows. But they have played it into their hands. Because something, you can, as a state institution, nothing stops you from leading a negotiated settlement. Nothing stops you from calling the parties prior to the meeting, even reaching out to them, right, separately before the meeting.
But you have both taken an entrenched, position.
You can always negotiate. You cannot. Politics is about consensus building. It's about negotiations. It's about always rising above, those very respectfully below and showing leadership. And I've said on other platforms that somebody like Mr. Siedun Ketia, rather than attacking the EC, stands in that position, given his extensive experience on our political plane, to lead negotiations and show leadership. And so we can always get third parties with extensive experience in this country who have led difficult negotiations even outside of this country to resolve this matter. That is different. But when you do a U-turn, that is serious.
So is it a U-turn? Is it unilateral? Is it that the two parties did not eventually agree to this before the EC came out with the announcement?
From where I sit, it is obvious the New Patriotic Party did not agree to it prior to the EC's announcement. That's the first point in response to your answer. The second point is that I may have used the phrase, if you like, U-turn, but it may not even be a U-turn. Is the EC coming up with something different after a consistent position for the last 7 months? As to how it came up with that, clearly, very respectfully, I am careful not to use certain words because I still want us to develop our democratic institutions. But it is obvious that the EC is cooking up something.
Muhammad Yaga is asking a question. What are you afraid of?
We are not afraid of anything.
Then go for the rerun.
It's not about, my brother, it's not about going for a rerun. It's about developing principles and values in our democratic space.
Dr. Masari had actually said in Parliament that if they allowed a rerun, in future it will be difficult because some people can decide to deliberately disrupt the process, damage one or two pink sheets, and insist that there should be a rerun.
So it's about developing principles. That's how nations are developed.
When you marched to the IGP on the 4th of June, you gave him a petition asking that he should provide the security. Did you get an answer to that?
We are yet to get an answer. And that is what I mean of the highlights within our democratic, what political scientists may take up in terms of the constraints within our democratic space. The strength of power of the police vis-a-vis the state power, the executive, and the influence of ruling political parties. It's a whole thesis that we may want to.
By the 16th of June, your colleague and Minister for the Interior on the floor of Parliament had indicated what should be the answer, that there was some pending process in the Supreme Court which disallowed them, the security task force, from going to provide the security that you were calling for.
So the rerun, does it not compromise the position the Interior Minister expressed on the floor of Parliament? Clearly, there's lack of candor in this whole thing. There's lack of candor. But we need to be careful. I don't think that we should allow politicians to only own this process, because it does appear that we seem to have trusted our politicians with so much that we look in isolation and think that they are going to do right by us. I'm a politician, but I keep saying we need to get the involvement of everybody. I am happy that Kofi Bentel of Imani is here, and they need to also get involved. There's the need for an arbiter or a mediator in this whole thing, because clearly the EC itself is buckling under pressure, and that doesn't help.
Okay.
I don't want to use words such as integrity issues. I don't want to use words such as trust issues, because I want to still maintain confidence in the EC and not give the NDC enough power, right, to remove the EC like they intend to.
Okay.
But we need to be careful.
Let's find out.